Okay, so once again, I take this opportunity to welcome you. Today, we are going to continue with our reporting methods. I've sent you some notes on reporting methods, that is marginal costing, absorption costing, and activity-based costing. Earlier on, I had given you a video on marginal and absorption costing. Then I also gave you some notes. Today I've added some notes and some questions. Some people who watched the video, they told me there was a question they did not know where it had come from. I believe that is the question I've sent today. So today we are going to start off our discussion with activity-based costing method. And I want to quickly discuss, then from there we do the questions. Now, as you can see on the screen and in your handout, activity-based costing assumes that costs are caused by activities but absorbed by products. An activity refers to a combination of several tasks described by a verb, e.g. receiving of materials, ordering of materials, etc. What we mean by that is that if you look at the traditional methods of marginal costing and absorption costing, they believe that products are the ones that make the cost to be there. Like now in Destiny College, you happen to be our product. So we can say that you are the ones who are responsible for the costs that are incurred by the college. That is according to marginal and absorption costing. But when you come to activity-based costing, it says that it is not the products which causes the costs, but it's the activities which are done. Like now the teaching that I'm doing, the cleaning that is done, the administration, and so on. But after the activities have made the cost to be there, the costs are then absorbed by products, who happens to be you in form of paying school fees. Now, activity-based costing assumes that cost can be divided into three. One is called variable, number two is called semi-variable. And this now takes care of the cost which cannot be clearly identified as fixed or variable. Then we have the fixed costs. Now, you should remember that marginal and absorption, they take that costs are only fixed and variable. But this one, they only take the variable. They take variable, semi-variable, and fixed. Now, because of these classifications, ABC method is said to be very accurate when you compare it with other methods. And we therefore say that it results into very accurate costing principles, pricing policies, evaluation procedures, and decision making. From there, we have what we call types of activities. We have 4 types of activities. Number one, they are called unit level. These are activities which involve just one unit of a product, just one unit. We call them unit level. For example, if I'm teaching a physical class and I decide to walk around marking your books, then that would be a unit level because I can only mark one book at a time. Now, these costs are clearly identifiable with the units, and they result into what we call direct cost. So when you hear of direct material, direct labor, and so on, they relate to the unit level activities. Then number 2, we have what we call the batch level activities. Now, these ones involve several units of a product, such as machine setups, production scheduling, receiving of materials, and so on. Like what I'm doing right now, teaching this class, it is a batch level activity because it is benefiting more than one student at the same time. Then we have what we call product sustaining activities. These are activities that are aimed at ensuring that the product survives for long and the product becomes competitive in the market for a considerable longer period. Now, they ensure that the product remains relevant to customers, and these include product design. Like if you look at something like a mobile phone, you remember the day you bought your first phone and the current phone that you have. The phones are more or less the same. They still make the calls. They still SMS. Maybe a few improvements in terms of internet connectivity, maybe in terms of camera and so on, in terms of the storage capacity. But the primary goal of a phone is to make calls. The same way that your current phone is making calls is the same way that the old one, the very first one you had, is making. But because of the design, unaenda ukiona simu mpya imetokea, you desire to buy a new one. Another case is like motor vehicles. If you buy a Vitz, the Vitz will be serving the purpose of a vehicle, of moving you from one place to the other. But because of the design, you may feel like, now I don't want to drive a Vitz. I want to drive a Sarun car. I want to drive an Arion car. I want to drive a Subaru Forester. Then after you have driven the Subaru Forester, unasikia sasa I need a Harrier. Now I need a Lexus. Now I need a Range Rover. But basically, the purpose served by a Range Rover is the same served by a Vitz, making you to move from one position to another. But because of the design, people prefer to change. Issues of packaging, the way you have packaged yourself. You see, like now, today, I'm in a tie. I don't think you people have ever seen me in a tie, or it's very rare that you see me in a tie. Now, the way I have packaged myself, today, I may look different compared with the other days when I am in a t-shirt. So the way you package yourself determines your value. The branding, how you brand yourself, the issue of design and testing, those ones are supposed to make to sustain the product. Then we have what we call facility sustaining activities. Now, in the facility sustaining activities, these are activities that we do to ensure that our business remains a going concern for a longer period of time. And this includes issues to do with research and development. Like exactly why you people, you are back to class. It is to ensure that you become sustainable, you become relevant in the future. When they will be asking for someone who can be promoted, then you will be able to talk, or you'll be there to be considered because you have upgraded your studies. The other thing is about property acquisition. When you find that a company is acquiring properties, that means that the company is going to remain. So that is about facility sustaining. Now, the next thing is about the reasons behind the growth of ABC. Why do we have to adopt ABC? And we already have other methods. We have the marginal costing. We have the absorption costing. One is that there is need to remedy the inaccuracies arising from the assumptions of the conventional methods. The marginal costing and absorption costing, they assume that costs can be separated into fixed and variable categories. But that is not always true. There are some costs you may not be able to tell where they belong. There are some costs that can be classified in different ways. The other day we looked at cost classification, and we said that one cost can be classified differently. So when we start talking of different classifications, then we are suggesting to presence of an error. So the traditional methods or the conventional methods, which are absorption costing and marginal, they had errors. But ABC comes in to improve on that. The other point is that there is emergence of low-cost production countries like Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, and so on and so on. When they come and they bring low costs, then you need to be sure when there are some low-cost productions. Just a minute. Just a minute. Sorry. So number 3 is increased automation. And this has to do with the use of machines to perform office duties. When you start acquiring machines to do work, it means that your costs has gone up. And you are well aware that when you have more money, you need to be more careful. So when businesses start to be automated, they need to take a method that is more accurate. The other thing is that there has been increased neck-to-neck competition. Now, if you have ever faced competition anywhere, even in social life and wherever else, then if you are still interested in the subject of the competition, you cannot just remain quiet. You need to seek more information. You need to be accurate. And that's why in the modern day business, which is characterized by neck-to-neck stiff competition, they must look for a method that helps them to be very accurate. You are all aware that nowadays you start a business here, and as soon as people realize it is doing well, everyone else starts to or thinks of starting the same business. So when they start, all of them start the same business. How do you survive? Neck-to-neck competition. Number 5 is what we call increased need for diversification. When competition comes and you do not do your cards well, you are likely to be defeated. So when you are defeated, you need to look for alternatives. And this is what now we call diversification. You do not just diversify. You need to be very accurate. Otherwise, you may try to diversify and then you end up killing yourself. Modern companies have become multi-product. If, for example, you go to any supermarket, you'll be able to find that they have become multi-product. Today, you walk to a reasonable supermarket, you find they have even hotels, they have pharmacies. These are things that never used to be there in the conventional supermarkets, but nowadays they are there. Now, the other thing is factors that limit the adoption of activity-based costing. So what are the reasons why activity-based costing has not been on the increase or on the rise, despite the advantages that we have given? One of them is that there is inability to establish appropriate cost drivers. We may not be able to know what exactly drives these costs. That becomes a problem. Number 2, sometimes some costs which are not attributable to any cost driver are inevitable unless the business ceases. So you find that there are some costs, you cannot avoid them. In as much as you are clear that they are not helping you, you cannot avoid them, not unless you close the business. And that becomes a major challenge. And number 3 is that there is lack of resources. So implementation of ABC is expensive, it takes time, and we are going to solve a question in a while, and you realize that it takes time. These activities that are done, they require a lot of resources. And now finally, we have what we call the procedures of implementing ABC. Number 1, you identify all the activities that are taking place in the business. But for your case now in the exam or in the questions that you're going to solve here, the examiner has already identified the activities for you. But if you are doing it in practice out there, you need to identify those activities. You bring them together. When you group them together, they form what we call the cost pools or the cost centers. And then you identify the appropriate cost driver for each cost pool. You get to know what drives the costs in each of the cost pool. And then from there, you compute the OER, just like we were doing the other day when we were in the overheads. And the OER is computed as budgeted cost pools, budgeted cost pool. You divide by the budgeted cost driver units. There should be a line there that is dividing, but it's like my notes omitted that line. Now, in deciding which cost driver to use, managers consider these 3 main factors. 1 is the cost relationship. So here we are asking what cost is the other one. So if it is machine hours that are causing the depreciation, then we go by that as the cost driver, that is the machine hours. The benefits that will be received, that is something that you need to consider. Something that you need to consider. And then the other thing is the reasonableness. When you are coming up with the cost driver, how reasonable is it? How reasonable, how practical, how is it going to be efficient in helping us achieve our objective? So basically, those are the notes that are supposed to guide you in this area of activity-based costing method. So are we okay up to that point? Are we okay up to that point? Okay, can see they are saying yes. Okay. The others, are we okay? Now, if we are okay, I want us now to take our past papers, and we handle a question that is here, the question of December 2022. The question of December 2022, question number 3A. December 2022, question 3A. That's where we are going to begin our workings. And I want to read the question. It says that TQM Limited is a manufacturing company that makes three products, namely TQ and M. The data for the period ended 30th of November 2022 is given as follows. So we have the units produced, we have the sales price per unit, we have the direct material cost per unit, direct labor cost per unit. We have the production cost overheads. Those are the ones we have called the cost pools. Then we have the total costs. And then this question is very, very generous. They have told us what are the cost drivers. Some other questions will not tell you the cost drivers. You'll be left on your own to identify the cost driver. Then information on the cost driver is given as follows. We have direct labor hours per unit, the machine hours per unit, the number of components per unit, the number of component receipts, the number of customer orders, the number of production runs. Now, using activity-based costing, determine the costs and the gross profit per unit for each product during the period. Okay, so that is what I want us to do right now. So what I want us to do right now. Okay. So let's start our workings. So we have said is the question of December 2022, question 3A. December 2022, question 3A. I want us to have something like this. Let me call it analysis table. Analysis table. Now, in the analysis table, we will have the cost pool. We will have the cost pool. Tutaandika hayo majina tumeona. Then we will have the budget costs. You divide it by budget driver units. And this gives us OAR. That will give us the OAR. So this one, we are going to call it cost per unit. Cost per unit of product. Cost per unit of product, TQM. TQM. Now, is my whiteboard visible? Are you able to see what I'm writing? Okay, good, good, good. So design that way, and once you have finished designing, you tell me finished. Once you have finished writing, tell me finish. As in once you have finished. Once you have designed, let me know that you are through. Yeah, Jemima is finished. Vera, the same, finished. Okay, good. So let's start with the first cost pool. It is the machining costs. Machining costs. Machining costs, that's the first one. When we come to the next area, we are told these machining costs, they are being driven by machine hours. So we will need to go to the table where we have the machine hours. You can see the machine hours per unit. So what we shall do is we shall need to take these costs of 1 or 2,000, you divide it by the machine hours. So the machine hours, or maybe let me use everything in thousands so that our workings are not congested, because the answer will be the same. It is going to be like this. The overhead costs, they are 1 or 2. And the machine hours for product T, as you can see on the other page, is half. So it is half times the number of units, which are 12, plus higine, it is 1 multiplied by the number of units, which are 16, plus higine iko na 1.5 or 1.5 times the number of units, which are 8. So work out and give me that OER. Once you get the answer, unatuma, thank you, Vera, it is 3. So this is 3 per machine hour. It is always good to identify the OER, as we said when we were in overhead. So it is 3 shillings per machine hour. So ukikuja kutafuta per unit, the absorbed, tulisema unachukua hii OAR, it is 3 times a half. So 3 times a half is what? Yeah, 1.5. Then on this other side, it is 3 times 1, which is 3. And here, 3 times 1.5, which is 4.5. Which is 4.5. So sasa hiyo unaifunga. It is on its own. That one unafunga namna hiyo. Let's go to the next cost pool, which is production scheduling. Production scheduling. Production scheduling. Now, in the production scheduling, the cost that we are supposed to divide, it is 84. And it is being driven by number of production runs. So this one tutaiweka yote because let's check the number of production runs. Ukiturn to the other page, the number of production runs, they are not in thousands. It is 6, 16, and 8. So sasa hii utaiweka ikiwa in thousands. 6 plus 16 plus 8. So hiyo una divide yote because the denominator is not in thousands. So give me this. $2,800, and I need yes, thank you. 2,800. 2,800 per run, per production run. Per production run. Now, when you come here to product T, this is how we are looking for per unit. Utachukua hii 2,800. You multiply by the number of production runs that are there. It has 6. Then you divide by the number of units. The units here are 12,000. The units are 12,000. So give me the answer there. 1.4. Let us go to the next one and do the same thing, whereby we will say 2,800 times the number of production runs, which are 16. You divide by the number of units, which are 16,000. 2,800 times 16. You divide by 16,000, that is 2.8. Good. Haya, hii ingine utasema 2,800 multiplied by 8. You divide by the number of units, which are 8,000. And I think this as well will be 28 will be 2.8. Will be 2.8. So let's go to the next. The next one is setup. Setup costs. Now in the setup costs here, the costs is also driven by the number of production runs, and they are 54,000. So utachukua hii 54,000, you divide it by 6 plus 16 plus 8. So tell me what that one is. 1800. 1,800 per run. 1,800 per run. And with that, we are going to talk of, we do the same thing that we have done with this other one. The same thing that we have done with the other one. So hii tutasema 1800 times 6. You divide by 12,000. You divide by 12,000. So that becomes 9. Is it 9 or 0.9? 0.9, 0.9, good. 0.9. Then here, 1800 times 16. You divide by 16,000. This one is straightforward. It is 1.8. Then here, 1800 times 8. You divide by 8,000. That is also 1.8. It is 1.8. So hiyo tunafunga namna hii. Nafunga hivyo. Haya, let us go to the next, which is quality control. Quality control. Quality control. In the quality control, it is also being driven by number of production runs. Then this question has become very simple. 49,200. So 6 plus 16 plus 8. So tell me how much that is. $1,640. So 1,640 per run. 1,640 per run. So sasa itakuwa 1,640 times 6. You divide by 12,000. You divide by 12,000. Or 0.82. 0.82. Then 1,640 times 16. You divide by 16,000. Or this one should be 1.64. 1,640 times 8. That is also 1.64. Let us go to the next, which is receiving materials. Receiving materials. The receiving of materials, the cost is 64,800. And this one, we are told it is driven by the number of component receipts. Number of component receipts. So ukiturn to the other side, utapata kuna 18,8064. 18 plus 80 plus 64. $400, good. It is 400 per receipt. So per unit, it is 400 times 18. You divide by 12,000. $0.6. Then 400 times 80, you divide by 16,000. Two. Then 400 times 64, divide by 8,000. $3.2. The last one is packing materials. Packing materials. Packing materials. Now, packing materials. The costs will be $36,000. These $36,000 is driven by the number of customer orders. So ukikimbia hapo kwa number of customer orders, you can see 6, 20, 10. 6 plus 20 plus 10. Give me the answer. Yeah, I can see 1,000 per order. So we argue the same way. We argue the same way that you have argued for the others. The same way that we have argued for the others. So it will be 1,000 times 6. You divide by 12,000. 1,000 times 6. You divide by 12. Oh, 0.5. I can see the answer is already there. This other one is 1,000. You multiply by 20. You divide by 16,000. $1.25. Good. 1.25. Then 1,000 multiplied by 10. You divide by 8,000. Is it also 1.25? Okay, 1.25. 1.25. So that is how you compute. That is how you compute the overhead absorption rates. The overhead absorption rates. And I want us now to compute. The question ilikuwa imetuuliza tafute the gross profit. So sasa hapa, we are going to draw something that I want us to call income statement. Income statement. Now, in the income statement, we will have details. We'll have a column for the details. We will have a column for product T, a column for product Q, and a column for product M. So with that, the first thing that you need to bring there is the selling price. Selling price. Selling price. The selling price. The selling price for product T is 50. Is 50 here. For Q, it is 70. And this one is 60. Those are the selling prices. Then you say less direct material costs. Direct materials costs, which is 15 here. We have 24 and we have 20. Then direct labor. Direct labor, we have 8. We have 12. We have 8. When you do that, you get a figure we call you get a figure we call contribution margin. Contribution margin. Contribution margin is what you get when you subtract the variable costs from the selling price. The variable costs from the selling price. So tell me the first one is what? Is it 26? Okay, 26. So it's 26. The second one? So Jemima, you can recompute yours. The second one? 34. The third one? 32. Good. 32. Now from there you say less overhead costs. So the overhead costs, you are going to bring the ones that we computed there per cost driver for each, or rather per cost pool. So tukianzia machining, according to our working, we had 1.5 here, we had 3, and we had 4.5. Then setup, we have 0.9, we have 1.8, and we have 1.8. Then we have quality control, which is 0.82, 1.64, and 1.64. The next one is receiving of materials, which is 0.6. This is 2, and this is 3.2. Then we have packing. Now packing is 0.5, 1.25, and 1.25. So when you less those ones, you will be able to get the gross profit per unit. The gross profit or the net profit per unit. Gross profit per unit. The gross profit per unit. So we can start the working. Tell me, for product T, it is what? $21.68. 21.68. Let's go to the next one. We are subtracting these costs from this contribution margin. M, 19.61. 19.61. So M nishapewa. Sasa nabakisha Q. Q is 24.31. 24.31. Good. So if that is what I have, then I will bring total units. Total units. The total units for T, they are 12,000. Here, 16,000. And here, 8,000. Sasa, I want you to multiply so that we get total profit. So this one times this, 21.68 times 12,000. 260, 160. Give me product Q. Product Q. $388,960. 388,960. And the last one, $156,880. So that is how you go about dealing with the ABC. So the examiner had asked the candidate, the examiner alikuwa ameuliza candidate kutafuta the costs and gross profit per unit. Yeah. So that is what we have there. So if we are okay with that, let me look for another one so that we cement that understanding. Yeah, this question of April 2022. April 2022, question 3C. April 2022, question 3C. April 2022, question 3C. I want you to draw a similar table like this one that we had drawn. Let me see which products are there. Hiyo iko na WXY. So draw a similar table like this one. Table similar to this. Similar table. So per unit of each product, we have WXY, WXY. So read the question on your own, and then you design that table. Ukishamaliza kuchora hiyo table, write for me the word finished so that I pick up from there. Write for me the word finished so that I pick up from there. Okay, I can see we have finished. So if we have finished, let us try to solve it. Let's try to solve it. And in solving it, the first cost driver, hii hata ni rahisi sana. Hii hii ni rahisi sana. Just two of them, receiving. So let me just call it receiving. And this receiving stroke inspecting quality assurance, obviously it will be driven by material purchase requisitions. Purchase requisitions, that is what will drive that. That is what will drive. So hii tutaandika hivi, tutaandika 1,400,000 divided by the requisitions, 1,200 plus 1,800 plus 2,000. Maniandike tu hapa chini. Give me the answer for that. Oh, 200, 280 from Jemima. So it is 280 per requisition. Requisition. 280 per requisition. And if that is the case, per unit, let's get to compute per unit. Let's get to compute per unit as we were doing previously. It is going to be 280 times 1,200. You divide by the number of units. The number of units of W, they are 10,000. So tell me what will be the answer there. That 3.6. That one should have a decimal. Okay, so that 3.6. Haya, hii ingine niseme 280 times 1,800. You divide by the number of units, which are 15,000. This one? Oh, the same. That 3.6. Haya, hii ingine 280 times 2,000. You divide by the number of units, which are 18,000. Which are 18,000. So divide and tell me what is the answer. Oh, hii ingine ilikuwa 0.5. So this is 0.5. And this is that 1.11. Okay. Aya. Oh, I'm told it is that 3.6 by there. So it's still that 3.6. Aya. Let's go to the second one, which is production scheduling. Production scheduling. Production scheduling, it is 1.2 million. 1.2. And we are going to use the setup 240, 260, 300. 240 plus 260 plus 300. So give me that cost. Yeah, 1500. Good. 1500. So sasa tukikuja huku, it will be 1500 times 240. You divide by 10,000. That is 36. Then 1500 times 260. You divide by 15,000. That is 26. Then 1500 times 300. You divide by 18,000. $25. $25. Good. Sasa, the next one tunaambiwa is determine the budget profit per unit. So chora a table similar to the one that we had, that other side. This one. So you draw. And then you record the figures. Selling price, we have direct materials, direct labor. Then the overhead costs, there are just two of them. Alafu patafute profit per unit. Na utafute weke the number of units, na weke total profits. Okay. So do that on your own. I think because you have the format on your book, let me change my camera. Once umepata profit, you will tell me the profits. Once you finish, let me know. Once you finish, take the same format that we had. As I check something here on the computer. So if you are finished, send me the figures so that we can compare. Send me the figures. We are finished. Send me the figures. The figures, give me the figures. Yeah, I can see Rea has given W 504,000, X 726,000, and Y 970,020 shillings. Do you agree with the figures given by Rea? Yeah, Jemima agrees with those figures. Let me see who else. Sirao also agrees with the figures. Yeah, Jemima is also in agreement. Okay. So, are we okay or we do another question? Are we comfortable with that? We do one more. Okay, Rea is saying we do one more. We do one more. So if that is the case, let's go to this one of May 2019. Let's go to May 2019. May 2019, question number 3B. May 2019, question 3B. Inasema, hope we are there. Get there as I rub my whiteboard. So I've said the question of May 2019. May 2019, question 3B. May 2019, question 3B. May 2019, question 3B. I think we already have, let me read. Inasema details of the three products. Ama imeanzia wapi? Machakato Limited makes three main products using the same equipment. Total overheads amounting to shilling 720,000 were charged for the last quarter of the financial year, ending that 1st of December 2018. Details of the three products for the months of September 2018 to December 2018 are as follows. So we have the labor hours per unit, machine hours per unit, material cost per unit, volume in terms of units. Additional information is that direct labor costs are shillings 14 per hour. Production overheads are absorbed on a material cost percentage basis. The machine rate for the period under consideration is 56 per machine hour. Further analysis shows that the total production overheads could be apportioned as follows. 20% to set up, materials taking 35 and inspection taking 45. The following activity volumes are associated with the product line for the period. So we are given the number of setups, the number of material movements, the number of inspections. Required cost per unit using traditional methods. So using the traditional method, so let's get the traditional method. Traditional method. So under the traditional method, so we have been given the total overheads for the whole year, 720,000. 720,000. And then details of the three products are there. And then information two, information two is talking of production overheads are absorbed on material cost percentage basis. Now that one can be used, but the reason why we shall not use it is because this question has not given us the total material cost for the year. We are only given the overheads per the year. So what we shall use is information three. The machine rate for the period under consideration is 56 per machine hour. So this one, the conventional, we are going to say that OAR is equal to budget, is going to be equal to budget overhead costs. Budget overhead costs, you divide by budget machine hours. Budget machine hours. And the budget machine hours, the question has already mentioned to us. The question has already mentioned to us that it is shillings 56 per machine hour. It is 56 per machine hour. It is question 56 per machine hour. I mean, the answer is 56 per machine hour. One of the things you must always ensure anytime you are dealing with the questions in MA, ensure that the figures that you are comparing in a formula, they have the same either number of units, like kama zote ziko kwa 1000, ziko kwa 1000. Kama zote umetoa 1000, utoe the 3 zeros. The same case applies even with periods. Like now, hii overhead cost that is stated here of 720,000, I cannot use it to compute the budget based on material, because ile material nitapata hapa, it is for units that were produced only between September and December. So those are just 3 months. Actually, September, October, November, December, 4 months. So it is for 4 months, but the overheads are for the full year. So if you compare the two, or if you compute an answer based on that, you will be wrong. Having said that, one of the things you notice with the conventional method, zile tulikuwa tunatumia kwa overheads, is that they look at the overheads as a single figure. They don't split it. The 720,000 is not split. Is not split. Okay. So this is how we are going to prepare. Tumeambiwa tutafute cost per unit. So let's draw cost statements. Cost statement. Cost statement. We have details. And we are told cost statement per unit. So the first one is product A. Product A. Product B. And product C. So the first thing, let's bring direct labor costs. Direct labor costs. Direct labor cost. So direct labor costs, ukiangalia hapo juu, A iko na 2 hours. Now 1 hour, according to information 1, is 14. So 2 times 14 is what? 28, good. So for B, it is 3. 3 times 14. 3 times 14 is 42. Haya, huyu mwingine ako na what? 1. 1 times 14. Obviously that is 14. Haya, direct material costs. Direct material costs. Direct material costs, that one we already given, is 45. This is 28. And this is 52. When you add direct costs, When you add direct costs, the answer you get is called prime costs. The answer you get is called prime costs. 28 plus 45 is what? 28 plus 45 is 73. 42 plus 28 is 70. 14 plus 52 is 66. You now bring the overhead costs. The overhead costs, takuwa tunachukua this one, or the machine hours, A iko na 3 machine hours, so 3 times 56. 3 times 56 is what? What? 168. Huyu mwingine ako na 2. So 2 times 56. 2 times 56 is what? 112. Alafu huyu mwingine is 5. So 5 times 56. That is 280. So with that now, we get a figure called total costs. So total costs. 73 plus 168. 241. Ingine 70 plus 112. 182. And the last one, 346. So that is the costs. Let us now come to activity-based costing method. Activity-based costing method. Now, in the activity-based costing method, you can choose to draw the table like we were drawing. You can choose to draw the table, or you can go one by one. Let me now go one by one, because at times the table may not fit. So let's look at setup costs. So let's look at setups. So the setup, the OAR will be budget costs. You divide by budget setups. Budget cost, you divide by budget setups. So this becomes, according to the question there, we are told that the cost of setups, they are 20%. So it is 0.2 it is 0. I think there is a working that I require here. There is a working that I will require. So hii utaandika tu hivyo, hatuta cancel, so that we have the working later. You divide by, we are told the following volumes. For the period. So for this period, so the setups are 650. 650 equals. So hiyo iwache tu hivyo. Iwache tu hivyo. Below it, ndio turudi hapo. Below it, below it nataka tuseme machine hours. Machine hours for the period. Machine hours for the period. I want us to compute that so that I show you how to get those costs. We are going to argue like this. You can see up there, product A is taking 3 hours. And we produced 1,500 units. Product B is taking 2 hours. And we have 2,400. And then product C is taking 5 machine hours. And we have 11,000. So give me those machine hours. Ndio tujue how many costs, or rather how many machine hours belong there. $64,300. Higher. Overheads for the period. Overhead costs for the period. Overhead cost for the period is 64,300 times 56. Because we are told every single machine hour, that is the costs. Mm-hmm. Nimeona even we did not require this working. 360. Sorry. We did not require this working. Sikuwa nimesoma vizuri. Look at hiyo 720, I skipped something. Inasema hivi, total overheads amounting to 720,000 were charged for the last quarter of the year. So hii 720 ndio ya the quarter. So this figure is erroneous. You can see it's even very high. So sorry, we did not require these workings. We did not require. I think you'll have to delete them. Just cancel. Just cancel. We did not require those figures. I had not read carefully the words for the last quarter. I think I only saw the year. I only saw the year. You remember even the explanation I had done earlier, I had just seen the year. Sikuwa nimeona the last quarter. What has made me to notice is that this figure imekuwa more than 720. I should have gotten something less than 720. That is what I was expecting. So when I've seen this one is already more, it is what has made me to look at the wordings. So sorry for that. Then we continue. Sasa turudi hapa, useme 0.2 times 720,000. You divide by 650. You divide by 650. You divide by 650. Give me the answer. Merudi hapa, 0.2 times 720. You divide by 650. The answer is 221.54. 221.54 per setup. Per setup. So it is per setup. Sasa tukuja hapa useme per unit. Tuanze na product A. Product A utachukua 221.54 times the number of setups. Ukiangalia hapo kwa swali iko na 78 setups. You divide by the number of units. The number of units that are there, they are 1,500. They are 1,500. Or I divide down here so that litachora line inaingia vizuri hapo without wasting time. I mean now without wasting space. Give me the answer there. 11.52. Good. Haya, tuende kwa product B. It is 221.54 times the number of setups, which are 112. Now this one, you divide by the number of units, which are 2,400. The answer for that, $10.34. 10.34. Higher product C, you take 221.54 times the number of setups, which are 460. You divide by the number of units, which we are told they are 11,000. $9.26. 9.26. Let us go to the next one. Let us go to the next one. The next cost driver is materials movement. Materials movement, not cost driver, the cost pool. Materials movement. So in the materials movement, the OAR will be given as budget overheads. Budget overhead. You divide by this one, we are going to drive by material movements. Budget movements. Budget movements. So this then will be, tunaambiwa hapo kwa swali, that they are 35%. So 0.35 times 720,000. You divide it by the number of movements, which in total we are told it is 115. 115. So give me that. Hmm? 2.2 or 22. Vera. $21.91.3. 21.91.3 per movement. Per movement. Higher. So per unit of A, we are going to have 2191.3. 2191.3 times 12. You divide by 1,500. You divide by 1,500. That is 17.53. 17.53. Then B, it is 2191.3 times times 21. You divide by what? 2,400. $19.17. We go to C, 2191.3 times 82. You divide by 11,000. Time imekimbia aje? Not. Ama ndio hiyo nimepewa 16.34. 16.34 or 33, either can take. Let's do the last one. The last one we are told it is called inspection. So inspection, I'm going to have the OAR as budget costs. You divide by budget inspections. Budget inspections. So the costs will be 45%. 45% of 720,000. You divide by the number of inspections, which are 950. Which are 950. Uh-huh. 341.05. 341.05 per inspection. Per inspection. Per inspection. Haya, tunasonga tu. Let us now get per unit. Per unit of A. Per unit of A, it should be 341.05 times the number of inspections there, which are 140. I divide by 1,500. That 1.83. $341.05, 170. You divide by 2,400. $24.16. Higher C is 341.05 times the number of inspections, 640. You divide by 11,000. 11,000. $19.84. 19.84. So you can see, lazima uchore ile table tulikuwa tumechora. You can also work out per cost pool on its own. Unachukua one cost pool, unajibu kila kitu, unatafuta OER na per unit. Unaenda the next cost pool, ama unaipanga venye tulikuwa tumepanga, whichever. But you can see this one has a lot of duplication, because tunashinda tukiandika per unit. Yeah. Haya, sasa kutoka hapo tuchore the, anaitwa nani? Anaitwa cost statement per unit. Cost statement per unit. Cost statement per unit. So we have details. So we have direct material, direct labor costs. We have direct materials costs. We have prime costs. We have overhead costs. Overhead costs. Now these overhead costs we have set up tukifuatwa na materials movement. Let me just call them movements. And then we have the inspections. So that we have total costs. Total cost per unit. So we are talking of product A, B, C. Sasa, product A, labor is 28. We already have it. This is 42 and this is 14. Material, we have 45, 28, and 52. We are just copying what we had in the other question. Prime costs, this is 73, this is 70, and this is 66. That way. Setup, let's get the setup. Setup, A ilipata 11.52. 11.52, huyu akapata 10.34. Na huyu akapata 9.26. Then tukikuja kwa materials movement, A iko na 17.53. Hii ni 19.17. 16.34. Alafu huyu mwingine ako na 31.83. 24.16 and 19.84. Sasa nataka uniambie the total for each. Shaandika, niambie toto ya huyu sasa. $133.88. $123.67. $111.44. So what you can see is that the cost you have arrived at here is different from the cost we arrived at there. And none of them is wrong. But as he said, this one is more accurate. This is more accurate. The ones that you arrive at using the ABC, they are more accurate. We therefore call it a lesson at that point. We call it a lesson at that point. Our next topic is CVP, cost volume profit analysis. Cost volume profit analysis. I would like us, or according to the semester timetable, we are supposed to finish the syllabus by end of this month, so that from August we just do revision. And I have several areas that I need to cover. I have to cover CVP. I have to cover another one called budgets. I have to cover another one called decisions, and another one called variances. So those are 4 areas that we need to cover. And we only have 3 lessons. We have just 3 lessons. So my proposal will be, instead of having makeups, I'm going to give you some videos, because I have the videos for all of them. So that by next week, Saturday, God willing, tukue tumemaliza syllabus. So I'm going to send you the video for CVP, which is our next topic. You look at it. It's also brief, so that when we meet tomorrow, God willing, I'll decide which one to do. Because the other option would be niwapatie all the videos tuanzane na revision next week. What do you think? Someone to give me their views? I said only for CVP. Okay. Sawa. So let me say only for CVP. Then tomorrow tukipatana, I will decide which one of these that I will teach. Alafu tuendelee. Thank you. Let me hear your views about today's lesson in terms of voice, in terms of vision. Because this is the first one we are having from the house or from home, or at least myself. How is it? Vera says that everything was on point. Anyone else? Leah says perfect. The others, what about the volume? That is the voice, the visual. Yeah, Sirao says very okay. Good. So then that is good. I will I'm happy to hear that. So now that tomorrow there are no maandamanos, those who come physical, we can meet physically in class. Those who are online, tutapatana tu kwa mitandao. Thank you so much. But going forward, this Friday lesson, I will be doing it from the house. This Friday lesson, I'll be doing it from the house. Because this is the only class I normally have in town. So huwa ninakuja huko jioni. So instead of now coming, I think I will be doing it from here. But Saturday, tunapatana hapo. Thank you. Thank you so much. Good night.